So we've discovered the absolute failure of trash that is the educational tie-in game that calls itself Elmo's Letter Adventure. But I couldn't go out on that kind of note and move on to another game without first remembering that there can be tie-in educational games that are good. So, let's discover M&Ms, The Lost Formula.
The Lost Formulas is a PC game released back in 2000 by Simon & Schuster Interactive. It's the first in several M&M-themed games, all of which seem unable to live up to the moderate success of their predecessor. That's not saying a great deal, since The Lost Formulas was panned at launch for being based off a candy product and having gameplay similar to the Crash Bandicoot series. Now, while I can't say much about any similarities to Crash, having not yet discovered those games, I simply don't understand the problem with being based off of the M&M's characters. Unlike other candy or food mascots, the M&Ms are almost cartoon characters. They each have their own distinct personality, with red as arrogant and brash, green as seductive as a chocolate candy can get, and yellow is nice but a bit simple. The idea of making a game based off of them seems no different than making a game based on a book or a movie. If anything, it might actually be easier. You have a character that, while having a defined personality, can be put into any situation or story without sacrificing any previous story canon or having fans claim they wouldn't be in that situation. I mean, maybe I'm a bit biased though. This is one of the first games I can ever remember playing. Like with all games, I got it around 2005, well after the time when the game was first released. So you might ask, with the very small number of video games I was allowed to play, why did I get to play The Lost Formulas? Remember, this is an educational game. Yes, the M&Ms have embarked to teach our children math. This surprised me about the critical response too. Everyone claimed that the game was far too easy to actually teach math. And this might be true if you don't adjust the math settings at all.
0 plus 3.
Reviewers clearly didn't look at the math menu, which can be changed to different types of math and different levels. In fact, as soon as I set it to highest level division, I couldn't play the game anymore. I mean, there's always the off chance that those game reviewers were also mathematical geniuses with all those numbers stored in their head, but somehow I really doubt that.
They probably just picked up the game on its base setting and played, and then blamed the game for being too easy. An educational game should be tailored to the child you are planning to use it to teach. So you would choose the level and the difficulty of math to match the child's skill level. The story opens with Red and Yellow about to head out to a vacation when Red realizes that Yellow left the factory in the care of the Minis, who are now wreaking havoc. You must hop in a car and drive back to the factory in the first section, Get Out of Town. This is an excellent driving section. It's challenging for kids, and I remember finding it difficult but not impossible when I was younger. As an adult, it's not very difficult, as you'll clearly see by my life count going into the next area. But that isn't to say the game isn't challenging. You will have to stay on your toes to be ready for what may be coming, and the map is constantly changing and interesting. And the music's zany, chaotic, and upbeat. It's exactly what I would expect from a crazy game like this. Now, each section of the game is split into 3 zones. The first and third zones are continuous levels of play, no math involved. In between those zones is the math zone. Here, each area has a different type of math equation. That isn't to say that the type of math changes, rather the way you give your answers does. In this first math zone, you drive through the box with the answer to the equation on the sign. In other areas, you have to jump to the right platform as the equations are spoken aloud, move to a button on a trolley that corresponds to the answer, or go through a correct doorway. These math zones can be turned off at the menu if you only want to play the game as well. As you reach the factory, the game mode changes. Now Yellow is on foot, working his way through the factory. You can jump and spin, navigating machines and boxes. Green crates will explode on contact, red go off after 3 seconds, and puddles of chocolate are dangerous. The challenge is also increased by everything being a one-hit kill. Yet again, the game is challenging, but not too difficult. The controls are tight and responsive as long as you don't change any of the base controls, and each of the zones will change the feeling of the level a bit, but the gameplay will remain similar for the rest of the game. For instance, the section Oh Shoot focuses on conveyor belts. The final area has obnoxious electricity puzzles. All areas have similarities with the others, but they always feel unique and add something new to the game. Now, there is very little story overall. Yellow goes through hell to fix everything in the factory, while Red does his best to take all the credit. Realizing their incompetence, the big boss sends in Green to oversee them, but Yellow still has to do all the work, and in the end everything is back to normal, and Red and Yellow can take their vacation. Wanting to give the Minis another chance, Yellow brought them on a cruise where the Minis run the ship.
I've done nothing but praise the game so far. So, what's wrong with the game? Remember how I said the controls are great as long as you didn't change anything? Yeah, you control your character with the arrow keys, and on my laptop that doesn't really work. So I adjusted it to be the number keys.
If I tried to jump diagonally forwards into the left or backwards into the left, the game simply didn't acknowledge the jump. Once I used an external keyboard with more reliable arrow buttons though, the game never gave me another problem. Another issue with the game is the load times. I'd always remember them as being very long, but I always figured it'd been the crappy old family computer. But no, even on my new computer, the load times are almost intolerably long. The game is loading every zone in its entirety though. You won't have to stop and wait again at any point in the stage, it's just one long wait between the zones. Don't think you can go get a snack while you're waiting though. Without prior experience of the game, you won't know which zones start with an immediate moving platform that could kill you if you're AFK, or will make you miss blue boxes. You probably won't need the blue boxes though because of the ease of the game. Every box you break will reward you with some amount of minis. 4 for red, 8 for brown, 100 for blue, so forth and so on. While blues are the least common, they're by no means rare. If you die in the second level and go back to the last checkpoint as well, boxes respawn, but they'll only drop 1 or 2 minis now. But with boxes literally everywhere, they add up quickly. Every time you reach 100 minis, you gain another life.
But wait, pop quiz. How many did I say a blue crate gave you? Well, that's right, 100. Good job, you were listening. Or if you got it wrong, I don't know what I can really say about your failings that your parents don't already say to each other behind your back.
The point is that every blue box is, in and of itself, a life. There is always at least one blue box right at the beginning of a stage, and there will be several more scattered throughout it. So, if you're hitting all the boxes along your path, or even most of them, you will gain lives at a rate that will leave you with far more lives than you really should ever need. Now I understand the reasoning for this, so that all ages of children can play and enjoy this game without it being too difficult. So I can't complain about it too much, but as an adult it just feels condescending.
Then again, that is probably what I get for playing a children's game at my age. I'm sure anyone else that I told about this outside this video would be quite condescending to me as well.
So if this is such an easy game for little children, why do I say it's an enjoyable challenge for adults? The levels, while fairly straightforward and linear, aren't necessarily simple. Their challenge is almost always up to the player themselves. You could travel through the levels with the minimal interaction required, just going straight ahead to complete the zone. But more experienced players can challenge themselves to try and get the boxes in slightly harder to reach places. Another challenge for more experienced gamers are the secret levels. 3 brown boxes in each zone contain pieces of the secret formula. These boxes start out fairly simple to find, just keep an eye out as you traverse the level. But as levels go on, the secret formula pieces get harder and harder to obtain until they reach the point where the levels branch off with some of the trickiest platforming in the game to reach the special brown boxes. If you can collect all 3 pieces of the hidden formula in a zone before the next part of the game loads, you will go into a secret stage. In these stages, you fly through space, run away from stampeding robots, and surfboard through sewers. At the start of each bonus stage, you're given 3 extra lives that only count for that stage, although the same rules will apply about boxes and the 100 minis. So you can gain more lives as you make your way through the stage. If you lose all the extra lives, you fail the bonus stage and are returned to the next main zone without penalty. But if you can beat the bonus, the extra lives that you had at the end are added to your real life total. In some stages, that's a pretty big if, though. The 3-dimensional qualities of the space bonus stage are particularly impossible. Another pop quiz! Am I going to make it through this hole? You know. And this one? You know. And this one! Actually, yes. What was the difference there? Who knows? And the angles in the tunnel section change very suddenly, but they maintain your position on the screen, not your position within the space. So you almost have to crash on the bottom of the tunnel in order to not instantly crash into the top of the bend. This bonus stage is actually the only part of the game I get genuinely frustrated with because the other parts that I find difficult, I know I just need to time my choices and jumps better. That, and if I really got mad and complained that a game that teaches 1 + 0 = 1 is too hard for me, I'd be laughed out of my own home.
So, I have a feeling that my thoughts on this game have been pretty clear throughout, but let's reiterate just in case. M&M's The Lost Formulas is a surprisingly charming, enjoyable game.
Its controls are tight and responsive, the challenge is simple enough for adults, but there's still enough of a challenge to still make the game enjoyable for older teens or adults. I really have to feel that the negative reviews it received at the time were from people that didn't actually play the game enough to notice the math settings, something that greatly improves its usefulness as a teaching tool. Heck, I could use this game today to practice long number division.
I just wouldn't because, let's be real, who uses long division in their everyday life? And I'm lazy.
This is a classic game that's perfect to pick up, play, and smile.
And if you have kids at home that want to be able to play a game and you want them to practice their math, this is an excellent game to have in both their collection and yours.
Thanks for watching, everyone, whether you're part of the Otterssoul or not. I'm glad to have you here. Hopefully you guys liked this game, liked what you saw, and like I said in the video, I encourage you all to pick it up. We're still doing pretty well on time for these videos, and next week we're starting another special month similar to the month of darkness. Get ready for the month of togetherness. And remember, life is always another game waiting to be discovered.
If you got it wrong, I don't know what I can really say about your failings that your parents don't already say to each other behind your back. Man, that's dark!